But
Back to the story.
yeah. Obviously they have like the shootout like you mentioned, which was cool because it like brings you back, and there's a lot of like I don't know, like callbacks to like earlier books. Obviously like the Seaman Demon is kind of a callback to book 1. And then like this is a callback to book 2 where like they did this similar thing where they had to have this shootout with Balazar's men, but in this case they're doing it now in a different universe in like a different time, but it's like similar still.
Yeah, and it's a callback to the last book when Eddie beat the shit out or like hit the guy with the gun.
Yeah. Yep.
And now he got to face off against him
Yep.
in this fight. And what did you think of how this fight went down? When it went down exactly, like how it was written.
I liked it. I thought it was written pretty well. I the like parts where it was pretty like gory obviously, but like the part where like there were people in the store. They were in a store, right? Were they in a store?
Yeah,
Yeah, they were
I
in a
think it was like
store and there were like just
convenience store or
patrons
something.
there, and like Roland was like, "Oh, I know Eddie's gonna know what to do," and then like Eddie gets wounded on his head, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like a bullet scrapes his head,
yeah.
and then later on he gets shot in the
Yeah,
leg.
he just gets kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Roland has to like fucking like shake him to like get him back to reality. Where he's like, dude, we're in a firefight right now. Like, get yourself out of like, wherever you are right now because you got shot in the head. But then like the other patron who was like standing up and like Roland told him to get down, he like didn't get down quick enough, just got blown away.
Yeah. I was like, damn. They're like, it's like someone had to have told them where we were gonna drop, because they're
Right,
just basically waiting for them.
right.
Someone armed them, paid for them, and told them exactly where to be. And so they're like, who could have been? If it obviously it was probably the Dark Man or something. Mia told them what was going down, or told them stuff, and then relayed the message on, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. But what did you like
So
that scene as well, the fight scene?
I liked it. There were some parts because I was like I how do I explain this? I liked it, but I was ready for it to end so that we could get to Stephen King and Tower.
Yeah, cause
I
like
wanted to, I
yeah,
wanted to get the Tower stuff. Oh, I wanted to get the Tower stuff done, and then they hinted at Stephen King being there. So I'm like, okay, they're gonna go see Stephen King. I want to see. It's like those were just for me so hyped up
yes,
that it made the fight scene not as enjoyable because I really wanted to get to the other stuff. And I'm not saying that I didn't like this scene. I did. I think I'd find it more entertaining on a reread when I already know what happens. That way I could like sit back and enjoy it more. But in this case, for me, the anticipation for the next couple scenes was so intense that I was just like, ooh, let's just finish it, kill them all already. Just do it.
yeah. That's a good
So
point. Because even when they're like talking to Tower and Deep Note and like getting him to sign the lot over, like when it becomes very apparent that they're about to like for real meet Stephen King, I was like, oh, I don't give a shit about this. Like, let's just go to this
yeah,
like the super meta
yeah,
insane part of this book.
yeah.
So yeah, I feel you. I like
It's like
I was like, just move on.
yeah, it goes from the fight scene, and then they get on this boat, and then it goes from the boat to this other thing. It's like yeah, all these scenes are funny and great in their own right, and I enjoy them. But I'm just like so like the whole time I'm just like, God, just get the Stephen King, please, for love of God, just get
Yeah,
the Stephen King.
and
Right? I gotta know what
and
happens.
like when we get to Tower and stuff, like I share Eddie's sentiment where like Tower is just like insufferable, and like Stephen King like
Yeah,
makes does a really good job of like creating this character who like we've all met people who are like this, who are just a miser and it's just so difficult to get along with, and like it's just fucking annoying. And like it's so funny when he's describing Eddie when Tower comes in the room and like Eddie's like seeing red because he wants to kill him so bad. He's like
yeah,
fucking like holding his fist so hard he's like cutting his fingernails into his palms and stuff, because like obviously like the longer they take getting Tower to sign this over, the longer it's gonna take for them to get to his wife. So he's like just losing it a little bit.
Yeah, that's that's why it was so unbearable
Yeah.
for Eddie. 'Cause
And
it's
like
just
as readers, we're waiting for the Stephen King scene, so it's like, God, Tower, just fucking sign it,
yeah.
like just be done.
And I was interested because I don't see, because like okay, I don't know Stephen King at all. Never met him. Never will, most likely. So I don't know who he is as a person. But uh, I never thought he was like very egotistical or self-righteous in
Yeah.
any way.
Yeah.
And and I still, even after finishing this book, I still don't feel that way, because the way he writes himself is not as like a godly figure. You know, he's an alcoholic who just has a couple strokes of good luck and hangs out with his family and wants to do better, like that type of thing. So he's like, and this is like the story. To me, it feels like the Dark Tower series is just culmination, whatever, of like Roland. How do I explain this? It's finding some sort of meaning to life or some sort of purpose, and that's what reaching the Dark Tower is like, what's the point, you know? And I'll dive in deeper into what I'm thinking there when we finish off and get to like the very end of the book, so we can finalize our thoughts. So because at first I thought Stephen King putting himself into the book was going to be like, oh god, what's you know, is he going to just make himself God? But no, he didn't. Or at least not yet. We'll find out in the next book, I guess. But
Yeah.
he's a conduit for the story,
Right.
instead of like actual God. So, which is an interesting way to look at it. You know, when you're writing, stuff comes to you. How do you think? It's like, how do you think of ideas? How does stuff come to you when you're writing? And is it you thinking of it? Obviously, but is there something else to it? Something's calling you, you know?
Yeah, he definitely explores that idea for sure, especially in the diaries towards the end, like how things come to him and stuff. He definitely explores that idea. I did like when they're coming up to meet him and stuff. I'm glad he kind of put the diary section towards the end. It was kind of like it just gets so meta. Obviously like adding the diary thing especially makes it super fucking meta, but like I'm kind of glad he put that in there because it paints him a little bit more of a negative light as well, like in the diaries, because like he's an alcoholic, his wife is annoyed with him a lot because of that, and obviously we know he did a lot of drugs and stuff when he was younger, and it took a while for him to get over it. But like when they were approaching Stephen King's house, and like Stephen King wrote it as if like Eddie was like, "Oh, I feel like I'm Moses, like at the burning bush." I'm like, "Okay, dude." Like I get that they're kind of thinking that this is almost like he's a god because he's writing this story, and then obviously they make him the medium, like they make him like the conduit, like you said later on. But if he didn't go down that angle and he kept it like being like, oh, like I'm describing all these biblical things of like people meeting God and stuff like that, if he didn't reel that back in, I think he would have lost me, to be honest, because I was just like, dude, I'm not like, you're a really good writer and everything, and like you said, I don't think he's necessarily egotistic. I feel like every writer is somewhat egotistical about their work when they're successful, but like if we were gonna go down the rabbit hole of like you're God, I'm out. Like I would have absolutely been on the bad end of the controversial ending. I would have been like, this sucks. So I'm glad we switched gears a little bit. I don't know if we needed the sections about like, oh, you know, this is the burning bush in Moses. I'm like, that's a little bit ridiculous to me, but good.
See, like I liked the comments on that, and so hear me out. I like how Eddie and Roland like built him up as like, is he God? Could he be God? And because like they don't know, he's the author of their story.
Yeah,
they might just be characters in a book. So, but this is where like I definitely like agree with you, is that they built it up, and then when they met him, he wasn't. He was just a normal dude who has his own problems, who just wants to raise his family, be a good father, husband.
Yeah.
And what was the third one he said? Like creative.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it was nice. But like I said, like if it like built him up to be God,
and then we
like
kept going down that path.
We kept going.
Yeah, I would have been like, I'm out. Like I'll read the rest of it, but I'm like, this sucks. So I'm glad we like switched gears there, because
yeah, because it's I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it's just someone who would think, people who like think they're so good that they're on the level of like even if you're not religious, but like to say like you're on a level of a god, is equivalent to probably the most narcissistic person in history.
Yes, like exactly. And that's
so
that's why I was afraid for a little bit there, because when we were going down that path, I was like, please, like, be self-deprecating in this next section. You know what I mean? Like, it deflated a little bit, because it's like it's getting to that narcissist realm, like you're describing, and I'm like, I'll finish the series if we're gonna go down this narcissist path, but like I hope to God we're not doing that. We're not, luckily.
Because like obviously I would say Stephen King is the god of his universe. So he created everything. But there's a difference between being like, I write these books for fun. they make money, people enjoy them, and that's good. Which is what he says basically at the end in the coda part. But if it was like, yeah, I am your god, suck my dick, Roland.
If that would have happened, I would have been like, my God.
I would have been like, God damn it. I'll be like, we read all these. Honestly, even if that's how it was, I would still want to read his other books, because at this point, it's like separate the art from the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
so
not like the other books are gonna do this, where like Pennywise is gonna meet Stephen King. Like, that's not gonna fucking happen.
Yeah. You know? Pennywise is, what do you fear? Stephen King's like,
nothing.
Alcohol and Bud Light.
Bud Light. Cigarettes that have a filter.
So cigarettes. So all good fun, but yeah. So I'm glad it didn't go, like, it's still meta, but it's honestly, it's meta in a way that still keeps it from completely breaking the fourth wall. And the reason I say that is because a pure fourth wall break is like Deadpool, where the movie's going and he like turns his head and he's like, you can join the movie, folks, you know, like, or whatever. So like that's like a complete fourth wall break. But we don't get that in here because Stephen King is written as a character.
Yes.
In here.
Right.
Not as talking to the audience. So
yeah, and I think that's a good distinction there. Like, he's a character, and he dies in this universe at the end.
Yeah. Imagine writing your own death.
Yeah. Which which
But
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I watched brief videos on other people talking about this when I finished
Yeah.
it, and one of them said that Stephen King was like in a car crash.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up
year.
because yeah, I did read that he actually was. I imagine it was on the same date, probably.
Yeah.
And then and it's cool. It's kind of cool to insert that because it's like, obviously he didn't die in our universe, quote unquote, but in this one he does, So it's like kind of
Yeah.
it plays into his theme well.
Yeah, because they were saying that it was real, more real than their worlds, but it wasn't. So it wasn't like completely real. It was just more real.
Yeah,
I think, unless quote, if I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's correct. It gets this series is crazy. I mean, it's so and like we talked about in the past. In the previous book, I think you can pull this off because it's such an ambitious, like, experimental series. It's very different than like a typical fantasy series. So
yeah, and so I like their whole conversation with Stephen King. It was very, very enjoyable.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
If you've read it, you've read it. So
yeah. We don't have to go into like the details of it, but yeah, I thought it was really cool. I was like gripped to that section. Like I listened to it very closely because it was interesting.
I would like to know about like people close to Stephen King, if he wrote himself as authentic as he possibly how authentic was it? And from reading it, it feels pretty authentic. Like he was being genuine with him, with presenting himself at least.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a hunch. Mm-hmm. So I would find it interesting to know whether, like, if like what his kids or his wife or what his friends who've read this, what they think about the authenticity is, like how accurate did he write himself compared to how other people close to him view him.
Yeah, no, that's a good question because most of the time we tend to view ourselves in a more positive. We tend to ignore some of the flaws. Yeah, and that's just like part of human nature. So yeah, I wonder how authentic it really is. But I'm excited to talk about the diary section. But obviously, we need to talk about the end of the book first.
Yeah, we could continue on because a lot of the ending thoughts are going to revolve around grabbing bits and pieces.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously we talked about how Jake and Callahan are gonna probably die. I guess we'll see. But Susannah obviously gets delivered to Sayre. I think that's how you say it, Sayre.
You're gonna pronounce it way better than me. So.
Yeah, Sayre. And then like you like get a real sense of like a cult ritual where like all the low men are there and low women. There's like vampires and they're all wearing like these weird skin masks and like underneath them they're like actually like rat and like hawk people and like fucking just monsters basically.
It made me think of the band Ghost.
Oh yeah.
And particular song Rat. Rat.
It's a banger.
And Square Hammer.
Yep.
That's what this scene reminded me of.
Yeah, Square Hammer very much so.
Very much very much Square Hammer. But yeah, that
big surprise, fucking
crazy.
Sayre's like, oh, I'm gonna take the baby from you. Nobody could have saw that coming.
I didn't know that was gonna happen. Damn, it's not like Susannah basically told her exactly what was going to happen.
And then it literally did.
It literally did.
Yeah. It's rough when like they're doing the delivery, I guess, of the baby and stuff. Like, Susannah has to go through all this like pain and shit, and it's like, God, like she's never gets a break, and then she's probably just gonna die. So
yeah, and and this scene is honestly like what I've been kind of waiting for in these Dark Tower books, because like I love horror, I love fantasy, and I'm starting to get more into the realism aspect due to reading more Stephen King. I'm starting to dig it a little more.
Yeah.
So this whole scene, and I love dark shit, like huge Berserk fan, huge Berserk. R.I.P. Kentaro Miura will be missed. And I so when it comes to dark fantasy and stuff, like I just love it. So like, and so this scene was very creepy and very dark, and because like they're like Stephen King describes the vampires and stuff like eating and drinking the blood of like,
Oh
children.
yeah, the babies and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like that's fucked
Yeah,
up.
that was pretty bad.
And it's so the reason I say like that, I feel like I like scenes like this is to just show how evil people can really become, because evil's out there, and you see it all over the news and everything, but like do you like really know how evil people can become? And it's like you need to know that, because if you don't know that, then you're gonna one day you might get a rude awakening and drive yourself insane. So it's like you need to be mentally and like physically like prepared for some fucked up shit. And so seeing scenes like this, like in the book, and seeing how is our hero going to react. Mia doesn't really care about the other stuff; she just cares about her chap.
Hmm.
Susannah is like freaking out because of it, and then Odetta, I think, is just sassy as fuck, but she doesn't really have anything really else besides being sassy. So it's like, and just seeing how like if these people will eat babies and drink the blood of babies, what are they not going to do, right? So it's like our heroes are going in to try to save Susannah against villains who basically have such either no morals or skewed morals, to the point where if these people will sacrifice literal infants to drink their blood and such, then they're it's gonna be a fierce fight, because they're if you're able to do something like that, then who knows how far else you're willing to go. Like there's not much more room to question what you wouldn't do after something like that. So
Yeah.
at least that's how I saw it. So it made for these villains to be extremely scary and unpredictable to me.
I agree fully. It definitely like is a really graphic scene, and it really paints the picture of how bad these, yeah, how evil they are basically. And I know like Stephen King is obviously great at writing, coming to age stories, but he's also great at like writing just like the classic like good versus evil, but he's very good at like making the evil seem very like real and extreme. So,
Yeah, because it really shows off his writing abilities too, uh because like if you just had this scene like was like someone inexperienced like wrote something as dark as this, it could easily just come off as like cringe, or just kind of just dark to be dark
yeah.
without a purpose to it. But like I've said before in Stephen King, in our other Stephen King videos, is that there's always a purpose to the dark stuff he does. Like he doesn't just throw things in there just to be there. So it's like, which thank God, or else it would have. So it needs a purpose, or else it's just like I said, it's just gonna come off as cringe.
Yeah. Because then there's just like he's just writing shit to like write shit. There's, yeah, if there's no purpose behind it, it's just kind of cheap.
Yeah. and it's yeah,
But yeah.
grotesque. Like, yeah. Uh, so what you think of like the actual her about like giving birth, and then like the doctors like we've rehearsed this many times, retard. Like like you don't know how to. You don't know how to do it. Like literally done it. Why are you fucking it up now?
Yeah.
We really rehearsed this so many times. So I'm just like
Nice.
started laughing.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Then like they mention, like the baby's for the Crimson King or whatever, and then the Sarah guy's like, you shouldn't have fucking said that. But I'm curious to see like how the Crimson King will be described in like the next book. But
Yeah, and so the book ends, I guess, with like them just saying she gave birth to it or whatever, and then it like ends. So we kind of got an ending similar to like book 3,
yes,
where they're on Blame the Mono, and it was like right before the riddle contest, and then it ends. And so it was like kind of like an ending like that, which
and his diary kind of touches on that, obviously, when we when he's talking about how he wrote that cliffhanger ending, like you said, and like there were a lot of people who were mad about that, and like it was kind of interesting because it kind of gave you an inside view of like some of the things an author has to deal with in like that situation, and it kind of kind of reminds me of, like George R. R. Martin, where like
yeah,
like obviously with Stephen King, the Dark Tower series is obviously very popular, just because it's Stephen King, and like Stephen King's a really popular author. But like with George R. R. Martin, the show, like the Game of Thrones show, was literally so popular that almost everybody watched it at one point. Like almost everyone at least in North America. So like that level of success, and then like you have social media now and shit, where like so many people are like wanting you to do this next book. I can like see how that level of pressure can be tough to deal with.
yeah, because well, it's like not only do you have to like write from the heart, or when it comes to you, and you write, like you don't even know how the story might end. You might think you know how it ends, but then it changes as you go, because the story develops as you write it. So at least that's also kind of like what Stephen King was kind of saying too, where he's just like he's not going to force it. When it comes to him, he writes.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the way it should be done, because you can tell if it's forced, and if it's forced, it's not that good. It has to, it comes to you from your mind and from the heart, at least in my opinion.
No, definitely.
So like the example you say, like with George R. R. Martin, it's like it's like not only is are you already a slow fucking writer, but you're a good writer.
Yes.
So,
and like,
but now
on top of that, like he told the producers of the Game of Thrones, like in case he died accidentally, like what he was thinking about as far as how to end the series. And then like they ended the Game of Thrones TV show, and almost everybody fucking hated it. So like imagine just getting that immediate feedback that the idea that you kind of had, like people don't like. So it makes it even harder to like finish the series. So it's just
because then it's because I mean obviously the way George R. R. Martin's gonna write it is gonna be better
than the TV show did.
But yeah, like, it's gonna but it's a lot of pressure. I mean, not only that, but like it has to come to you, so you can't just force it out. So and it takes time. Sometimes you get writer's block, or you just gotta like take time to think. And so, and depending on how long it is, Game of Thrones has a fuck ton of characters. So it's like George R. R. Martin has this big story in his head, and he probably has a vague idea how to end it. but just because you know the ending, you got to figure out how to get there. And so with all those characters, it takes time, and and that's just how it is. And the dude's like in his mid 70s. Obviously, he doesn't take much good care of his health. If you've seen him, he's fat. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just calling it like I see
No,
it.
you're right, man.
Stephen King, for all the drugs and booze he drank, he's clean now, but he's like skinny and healthy. So of course he feels like he can pump out shit faster.
Yeah.
But
well, you even look at like the Dark Tower series, like we talked about, like it was written pretty much throughout his whole lifetime. Like it took him a long time for it to come to him as far as how he wanted to continue it.
Yeah, and I was watching one video a little bit. I was like talking about this, and they're saying how the Dark Tower series just it feels like stages in King's writing style as he gets better and better. It like starts off with the first book being like a bunch of short stories put into one, and then from there on it just because how do you feel about this? Like each book feels like, I don't want to say like completely different genre, but it feels like its own separate book. Like no two books feel the same.
Yeah.
Like even the Song of Susannah feels like a completely different style of book than Wolves of Akala. And even like the second book, the drawing of the three, that was the second book,
yes,
right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so even like that book,
way different.
Like feels different than the other books. So, I don't know exactly what significance that may have when we get to the last one, but even Stephen King said, like in the Coda or whatever, that he feels like all these other books he's writing is just preparing him for this story, which has been basically his magna opus.
Yeah,
definitely. And so I think that this book series, this is my prediction, is basically just going to be like Stephen King's way of finding purpose or meaning into it, or at least like Roland's character for me represents that, because like with the age-old question is, what is the purpose of life? Roland seeking the Dark Tower, not knowing what it is or what it does, he exceeds all generations because he's ageless, over thousands of years old, still seeking the same question. So this is like kind of, to me, it feels like this is Stephen King's way of figuring out for himself what is the point.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and like it's definitely apparent where this is kind of like you said, his magnum opus, where like each book was written in a different era of his life. There's so much time between each book that his writing style is different. His interests are probably different. Like the things that he thinks are interesting to write about is probably a little different. And it's apparent in the writing for sure. Each book feels different, and each book has like, new concepts, and like I think that's part of what makes the series cool, is like it's very ambitious. It has a lot of different things blended together, and it's experimental. So it's definitely cool.
Yeah, and when I was talking to my boss at work's read the whole Dark Tower series, and I was talking to him about how like some people, longtime King fans, don't like the ending to the Dark Tower and stuff, and I was like wondering what he thought about it, because he likes the ending, and he told me that he thinks it's like so Stephen King writes more than horror books, like there's Shawshank Redemption, The Body, stuff like that. And so he thinks that the horror fans, because Stephen King really blew up because of horror, and I think that's something to really do with the movies, the
Yeah,
adaptations of
well,
his
he even
books.
mentions it in his diary, like he's sometimes known as like America's boogeyman, which
Yeah,
I've heard that term.
so it's
I've heard him be called that term as well.
really, yeah. I haven't heard that one. I've heard like King of Horror
Yeah,
or something,
my
or like Master of
yeah,
Horror.
I've heard my mom's. Well, my mom was dating a guy who loved Stephen King. He read like all the books and he referred to him like that once. But maybe he did because he read this book. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like so, like he was saying is that like the horror fans, uh, like the Dark Tower series really isn't a horror story. Like to me, like this series, the Dark Tower series, is uh it has horror elements, but I wouldn't say it's a horror story. So for the people who like Pet Cemetery, all horror, absolutely horrific. It is a horror story. The Shining is a horror story. You know, uh, so it was like the people who were really into horror didn't like the ending because it wasn't what they liked from Stephen King.
Okay, that's
It
fair.
wasn't. It wasn't that really dark, creepy horror aspect that they really wanted because the Dark Tower series, at least to me, feels more philosophical
Yeah, definitely.
than horror. Horror elements, but more
Yeah,
philosophical.
absolutely.
What do you think about all this?
Yeah, no, that I mean that definitely makes sense. Like if you're looking for like a super horror story, like the some of the books you mentioned there, like you're looking for like even like It is like more horror focused, and you're looking for that. And yeah, this series definitely is not. That's not the focus, like you said. There's elements of it, but it's not the focus of the book. The focus of the book is more like Stephen King has kind of mentioned, like kind of more like a Lord of the Rings, like we have a fellowship fucking like, quest series. But it has Stephen King's flair. Like you said, it has horror
Yeah,
elements. It has things that he's obviously interested in, like, it has like this Western theme with like the gunslingers and like they're like knights and stuff. So it has original ideas that are Stephen King's flair, but it's definitely more of like a Lord of the Rings type. We're going on a quest. We have a fellowship. We're fucking, type story, not just
yeah,
not just a horror story. And philosophical, like you said, yeah. They're like, especially now, especially at that we're at this point in the series, it's become way more like that. But yeah,
so I'm excited to finish the last book because
I
then
know.
like I want to go through at least the main characters and kind of just see like go from like where they started, how they ended, what's the point, like what is their
Yeah,
purpose in the story? Because like I know I've already gone through what I think Roland's purpose is, but it'll be interesting to maybe to do like a deep dive showing about like what's everybody else's purpose in the story.
yeah. I think that would be great. I think when we finish the series, we can definitely do like separate things, like talking about that kind of stuff, because it'll be fun to kind of reflect on the series and like you said, talk about the characters more in depth, and then obviously reflect on the ending and like kind of guess as to why it's more controversial. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to finish this series. I'm also like not. It's like bittersweet. Like I'm excited to see the ending and see how everything wraps up. I'm excited to see how the characters end up, like who dies and who doesn't. But like it's also bittersweet because like I really enjoy this series, and once it's over, it's over. You know. So
Yeah, and we've already read Wolves of the Calla, so I mean not Wolves
went
got
through the
we've already
keyhole.
went through the keyhole,
Yeah.
so there's
There's
nothing.
nothing
Well,
left.
there might
I think
be.
I saw maybe
There's related
or
books.
something like that, or like a short story. I don't know when he wrote it, but
It, it might just be the gunslinger,
yeah.
the first
Let
one.
me But yeah, these are the. Okay, yeah, there is a novella. It's called The Little Sisters of Illyria, but I think that's it after that. But
Yeah.
we've gone through after this novel. We've gone through like all the main novels.
Yeah. Do you want to go through a question or two off this list I have of finished
Yeah, sure.
books, just to kind
Yeah,
of end it off?
absolutely.
Uh, how does the book's title work in relation to the book's contents? If you could give the book a new title, what would it be?
I think personally I'd keep this title, and like I feel like Stephen King definitely mentions this title in the series, especially like towards the end. And we didn't even touch on this scene, so it's actually good that you brought this up. But before she goes into the Dixie Pig and witnesses the baby stew, we
Yeah.
she has she goes to like a street performer, like a dude who's just playing on his guitar, has his guitar case open, like just trying to make some money and play some guitar for fun. And she gives him like the $50 bill to like sing a song with him and stuff. And so you have her sing this song um, with the guitar player, and it's really beautiful. And she reminisces on the time when she was like in the '60s, like doing like civil rights and stuff like that, and reminisces on people that she loved who died during that time and stuff. And like it's a really powerful scene because like right after that is when she has to do this demon baby thing, and she's probably going to die. And like and then obviously when she's in pain, delivering the baby and stuff with the low men and the vampires around, Stephen King mentions again like the Song of Susannah, where she's like crying out in pain, but it's a different song. So like Stephen King has like the contrast there of like she has this amazing moment with the guitar player where she like reminisces on her life, and even Mia like recognizes it and enjoys it as well, like that memory and stuff. And then like she goes from like a really great moment in her life where she reminisces to like the worst moment in her life where she's delivering this demon
Yeah.
baby, and they both involve songs. But
Can you show me your mother? Yeah. You look good, girl. I love that part.
That's pretty funny.
I love Mia's character. Just like once she realizes what she's about to do, and she's like, "Oh fuck."
Shit. But yeah, what do you think about the title and stuff?
So I really like before that. I was like, I really like the song Stephen King chose. I live in constant sorrow.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking of the same song, like, cause like I work with a bunch with older people too, so like I hear that song play sometimes. So it was like fresh on my mind, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. So I actually knew the song. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people Stephen King's age probably know the song as well.
He inserts his like the references like ZZ Top and like these other classic rock bands. Like
Yeah,
old people music, but it's still good.
Old people music. Yeah, I listen to it. Shit, I listen sometimes. Like I can go from heavy metal, listening to like Amon Amarth, Slipknot, to like violin and piano.
Yeah. Like, all good shit.
I like it. Right? So Susannah's song, how I interpreted whatever, was basically like, so like song was used as like her giving birth screams, as kind of like Susannah's song, because like the whole thing's been building up to her giving birth to this. And I mean obviously there's like a literal like Susannah's song that she wanted played, or was it Mia? Either way,
I can't remember.
It was Mia. Gave him the 50. Mia gave him the $50. But anyway, so that seemed like Mia's song. Like Susannah liked the song, and yeah, but I feel like that was more for Mia. And then Susannah's song is just a play on like the screams she gives while giving birth. Because I think the next book I feel like is going to just open with all of them charging in, right, to get to her. So, yeah, I guess if would I change the title? Not really. I think it's pretty good. If I could give the book a new title, uh, what would it be? The Song of Susannah. I don't. If I had to give it a new title, I'd have to think about that for a sec. Maybe
Cigarette is shit.
maybe who'd smoke this shit? Maybe rebirth.
Yeah, that'd work.
Like
The subtitle or whatever, like reproduction. I mean, that's like very literal, but yeah, I think rebirth is better because that's like more. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's really being rebirthed? Nothing's being read anything. It's just being birthed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that wouldn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
Vampire rat mask people, the book. I don't know. I'm terrible at titles.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I thought the title was pretty good for the most part.
Yeah. I'll just do one more question since just one pretty late. We'll probably split this up into parts anyway, I feel like. Yeah, let's just do this one. How did it impact you? Do you think you'll remember it in a few months or years?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely burned in my brain, this like last scene. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah,
I think of the entire series, this is one of the events that I will remember the best, I think. Just because it's like it's significant in the quest, it's significant for this character, it's significant for the story. Like it's almost like we're not quite at like the biggest event, I feel like, because we haven't got to the Dark Tower, but this is probably gonna be the second biggest event. Like having the child, and then like obviously they like predicting this is like the doom of Roland. Like this baby's gonna somehow be part of killing Roland, but pretty big event, and also really disgusting. Yeah. So burn in my brain a little bit, as Stephen King does.
as you do, and I think I will always remember this book for standing out mostly to me because it's the first time I've read a book to where the author has inserted himself as a character. Yeah. I don't think Same. I've seen. I mean, it's probably been in other things, like I'm pretty sure, like in other books but I haven't read. Stephen King shows up in It Chapter 2 as a store clerk, sells a bike to whatever fucking kid. Yeah. I think it's the kid who lost his brother. I think.
I can't remember the names.
Georgie.
Yeah. Fucking Georgie.
We all float down here. But I want to see in the next book, because like vampires are cool and all, but they don't really interest me a whole lot.
Care about vampires as well.
But I want to see more of Stephen King's other creatures make its way.
Yeah, me too.
Into in the next book, but it probably won't. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think about the next book? It's the last one.
It's the last one, man. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't. Like it's just such we're in meta realm now, and there's so many different fucking genres. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm excited to see how it ends, honestly. I think people are definitely gonna die. I wouldn't be surprised if Callahan dies, but like immediately. But which is unfortunate because we
him.
just got to him, but I don't know. I just feel like he's gonna die.
Yeah, he's only been here for 2
Yeah.
books, and I feel like he's been here
I
forever.
think he's the
like,
easiest to kill off. But
yeah, his backstory was so fucking
so
long,
long.
that I feel like he's a full-fledged. I feel like he's been there since the fucking
I
beginning.
think either he dies or like he sacrifices himself to like kill an arch vampire or something, like maybe mid book,
Yeah.
and then dies or something. I don't know.
I'll rekindle my faith
Yeah.
for the cross that Balazar broke, or whatever the fuck his name was.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited,
All right.
man.
Cool. Let's finish this series, and this will be our first longest series that we finished.
Yeah, I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped.
Yeah. Then we got to read Dune Messiah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Nah, we'll time that shit.
All right. Well,
I think I'm good.
all right. If you enjoyed this book club discussion over Song of Susannah, definitely give us a like or a comment. We appreciate y'all listening. And we'll see you with the final book.
Yeah. Smell you later, Red.
See ya.